Hello, hello everyone. It's time. It's time for round 5 of the endurance series, and we are here for a very, very special race. Joining me is Unicorn. How you doing, Unicorn?
Yeah, Striff, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm doing well. Monaco, what a race this will be, 100%. This is the real test of a driver's endurance. Trying to get around here for a 100% race is no mean feat. So we'll see how everyone fares, but it's sure to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a very, very iconic Grand Prix, 19 turns, 3.337 kilometers here around the streets of Monte Carlo, and oh, what a beautiful sight it is here around this circuit. And I just want to say before we jump into action here, massive shout out to everybody in the chat, and see Alex Bud there with the resub, thank you very much. And Rutanius, thank you so much for gifting a sub there as well. Dark Chocolate in the chat, thank you everyone for coming through here on a Saturday evening to check out some Monaco. And well, I have some great news for everyone here tonight. Not only are we going to be viewing Monaco in its 100% distance capacity, we're going to be having ourselves a night race around the streets. That's right. We are going to be jumping into action a little bit different than how we would normally see it. Normally you'd see things during the nice daytime weather, but we figured, well, since it's the evening for most of our friends in Europe and the UK, why not? Let's have ourselves a nice night race. Huge shout out to Alex Bud. Thank you so much, sir, for the gifted subs. 5 tier 1 subs from Alex Bud to the community, and that's what it's all about right there. Thank you, sir. All about the community, and greatly appreciate everyone hanging out for some Saturday night action. But I do believe with all that, we are just about ready to go. I think we might be waiting on one more driver. Not entirely sure, but as we do, it's, well, a 100% distance campaign. Want to try and get everybody dialed in as best as possible here. Is holy smokes, Unicorn, these guys are feeling the Monaco, I think.
Absolutely, it's going crazy. We haven't got a train yet, though. Rutanius as well. I think he's looking to try and become a conductor, but yeah, it's popping off in there, but we haven't got that train hyping us up. The hype train, it likes to pop out when you've got all these people being so generous. Rutanius, Alex Bud, it means a lot. We are ready to go, I do believe. So we've got all 20 drivers in now, and 78 laps, Striff. 78 laps. It's worth getting hyped up for. It's such a long race around the track that is really very, very difficult.
It is an extremely difficult. Another gifted sub, Anius, to Mr. Neon, evading gifted subs until Anius set his sights on him, and greatly appreciate all of the support. It's really so humbling. Hopefully we can give you a nice solid race here around Monaco this evening. It is going to be 18 minutes of qualifying, 100% distance, 78 laps, strict corner cutting stringency, arc ferme on, and full damage. Ghosting is off. And holy smokes. Waffleorian, thank you so much for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs, and there's the train, and evidently the train is already at level 5.
It's Monaco. It's all or nothing. It's all or nothing, it would seem. So a big shout out to all of those people who've just got gifted a sub from whether it be from Waffle, Alex, or Rutanius. So yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
What a way to open up the evening's festivities.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Why?
There is rain. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know if someone a driver could come across and tell us if the weather forecast is broken, but it should be dry throughout. That's what the weather was set to.
That is quite odd. That is really odd. Saying wet. Well, let's just we're gonna have this dry, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a restarted session.
Yeah, we're gonna have to lobby the restart.
Yeah, everyone's Neon's I think he jumped the gun in the chat there. But no, it will be a restarted session here, I do believe. So you can see what we're seeing here. See, a little bit of a drizzle. Just ever so slightly.
Yeah, we're going to get this restarted and get that to make sure that it is dry. I don't know why that has happened, but it should be dry, both qualifying and race, for everyone in the chat asking. So if you're a driver, we're getting the lobby restarted, so be sure to join as quickly as possible.
Everyone, thank you so much for your patience. And we have a unanimous gifter. Another 5 tier 1 subs gifted in the chat. We exceeded the level 5 on the hype train, and thank you so much. It really means. Race in just a few moments time, and when we say the race will be dry, it'll be dry.
All right, there we go. Lobby is back up and running.
Thank you very much to Ben the Bear for the resub. Greatly appreciate that, and I hope you do well today here around Monaco. Now, I know I have some info here. Well, if anyone happened to miss qualifying today, I'll tell you something. We might see those qualifying times that were set in Q3 beat here this evening. Of course, pole position was a 1:10.346. I think we're going to be seeing pole positions in the sub 108s here this evening. Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, the top 3 after qualifying was red flagged due to Charles Leclerc's crash, of course. And, well, we'll have to see who lands themselves on pole position today.
Yeah, and qualifying is so important here in, obviously, Monaco, with track position being absolutely critical.
Massive shout out to Inside Racing League. Thank you so much, IRL. Greatly appreciate that raid, and we hope you had a good race this evening. We're about to jump into a race ourselves. It is Monaco.
Yeah, we're just getting those final few invites sent out now, so everyone's got at least a backup. And obviously, we've got most people back in already.
This is going to be quite the campaign. I don't know how many of the drivers in this lobby have gone through a 100% distance race around Monaco.
I can't imagine it's too many. It's not the most desirable of conditions, shall we say, for a 100% race. It's such a tricky track. It's such a technical track, and the concentration required. You know, you get to the end of a 50% race and everyone, brushes off a sigh of relief because they made it to the end. It's a tricky track. you got to now, you know, double that distance. You got to go 78 laps around here. So it's, you know, it's a long period of time to be driving for. And then we do have, I think, everyone in. So I think we are once again good to go here in Monaco.
Fingers crossed. The the clouds don't appear with buckets of rain.
Yeah, there we go. Right, everything is done and dusted. Everyone is back in. We've got 20 drivers. We've got everyone readying up. The clock is ticking down. And fingers crossed it goes a bit smoother this time. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the wait. I think me fiddling with the time of day must have broken something in the weather forecast. But there we are. Everything should be fixed now. And, well, Striff, we didn't even see a single car leave the garage, I don't think. So we didn't miss anything from the previous session. And the streets of Monte Carlo should be dry now, which is the most important thing.
Right. Here we go. 18 minutes of qualifying about to take, well, shape. And I'll tell you something here about Monaco. This race, fun fact about Monaco, most wins all time, Ayrton Senna, and if I'm not mistaken, it was 6 race wins consecutively to get to that total. King of Monaco. And of course we have the most wins for a constructor, McLaren. 15 wins around Monaco for McLaren. Will we see a McLaren win tonight? Maybe. We have Rutanius and Dirk Chocolate on the grid this evening. Two very fast drivers.
I do believe that's actually Neon cloaked in disguise under Dirk Chocolate's name. I think he renamed himself mid restart.
Lovely.
Well, that is Neon, I do believe, because Dirk was not on the sign-up sheets, and I didn't invite him.
Imagine a streamer getting piloted.
But there we are. We have people hopping out onto the track here, and it's midnight as well. So everything just looks that little bit more dramatic. And Yama is the first driver out of the pit lane. We've also got a couple of drivers just on the mediums. I can't imagine they're going to end up on that, but...
Well, what's the tire strategy here? I'd venture a guess and say not many of the drivers here know really how far they're going to go on what set of tires. Yama, that first driver out in the Williams, he's very happy to be driving here in Monaco, I think, this evening, and we'll have to see what he's able to do. Normally driving in the Americas division on Tuesday evenings. Doing quite well in that division, I might add. And here we go. This will be a run around the streets of Monte Carlo, Unicorn.
Yeah, the Williams flying down towards turn 1. Sandavot, where it's one of few overtaking spots as now he climbs up the hill through Beau Rivage down towards Massenet, turn 3. High-speed left-hander coming over the crest down into Casino now. Avoiding the bump there, coming down into Mirabal, turn 5. Then getting it turned around into the Grand Hotel hairpin, the slowest corner on the F1 calendar now in through turn 7. Coming out of turn 8. Got the Mirabal there now through tunnel. And you just got to keep it as pinned here as late as you dare on the brakes, going down into the Nouvelle chicane. Getting out of the way there, Jamie in the Haas now through to back, very fast left-hander into 13-14 through the pool section of track 15-16 now in towards Raskas, and then through into the Anthony Nose corner here, rounding out the lap. DRS enabled for the first and last time of the lap, down towards the line, and Yama opens us up with a 109.3. It's a very short lap time around here. hence the huge number of laps we'll see. A 108.9 though coming out of Rutanius. Psycho a 109.3. And Dayson, well, he goes fastest at 108.5, and he's something of a street circuit specialist, Drift.
Yeah, one of the few people I know that thoroughly enjoys Vietnam, the Hanoi circuit. Ben the Bear goes 3rd, Matt 6th, Yasko's 7th, Tuptus is here. He went 9th, but Acraid pushes a couple drivers back as he goes 6th.
Yeah, I'll tell you someone else as well, Rutanius. He loves this track in particular, Monaco. He practices it a lot because he knows that not a lot of people like it. And, well, he's practiced it so much, he's become good at it. And as such, he likes to do well around here. Ben the Bear, interesting enough, only good enough for 3rd place right now. Well, 4th place as Neon, Dark Chocolate for the evening, picks off P2. Meeting his teammate out, the Dutch duo there in the McLaren squad.
Who just came through Dark. I believe he went into 11th position. Jamie to the line. He goes 11th now. He pushes Dark back. Sindako is on the move. He's coming through the tunnel. The Italian driver in the racing point. Coming down into the chicane. Front left lock up there, and he blows it on the inside curbing.
I don't think that lock up there helped him. You want to carry as much speed through out of the tunnel as you can, but obviously, you know, just braking a bit too heavily, getting in there. There's also that chicane is going to cause huge amounts of problems in this race for some of these drivers because it's so long. Concentration required is so much. But that chicane, there's multiple ways to make a mistake through there. You could do what Sindako's done, you know, lock up with the high speed, maybe invalidate a lap. But you can clip the rear wheels either on entrance or exit of the chicane. I know from experience there, but it's a tricky corner to get right in a 50% race. So over the course of a 100% race, Trev, I would be very surprised if we saw no incidents through there.
Yeah, I would also be extremely surprised. Freeware now, he's on the move coming through into Sector 3. And one thing to talk about is he had a little bit of traffic. I'm not entirely sure if it impeded the German, but he has just taken an end plate off coming into Raskas. And one thing I'll tell you is we saw Yasko on his way out of the pit lane. I'm pretty sure he was on his way out of the pit lane. He took off an end plate. If not, he was just trying to get out of the way. But yeah, Freeware, he goes 4th quickest to 108.995. And he did take off an end plate coming through that 3rd sector.
Yeah, and with damage, that's an impressive lap. Obviously, like you say, only in the last few portions, but still, definitely expect to see a little bit more pace coming out of the Red Bull with the German at the helm. So a good lap time, all things considered, from Freeware. Plenty of time to get a couple more runs in here, given how short the lap time is around here.
If you're just tuning in, welcome. You're here for 100% Distance Monaco. And of course, it is with strict corner cutting and full damage. Massive shout out to our great partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out via the link in the chat. And of course, the panels down below if you're on the web browser. They have a great website with some amazing sim racing rigs, wheel stands, motion sims, light rigs, and they can even give you the accessories you need to take your flying to the next level as well as your racing. But of course, back to the action. Not too much going on circuit right now. It looks like Tuptus might be flying through Sector 1.
And just behind him as well, Rutanius, who currently sits P3. He's out on another flyer in the McLaren. And we'll see what both of these drivers are capable of here. Oh, that's a bit of a hit for Tuptus.
Took a good chunk out of that front left there.
Unusual place to see it as well. A little loss of traction coming out of Portier as Rutanius just flies through to back, absolutely flying. He is 3.5 tenths up on his previous best. This could be fighting for provisional pole right now. Here the Dutch driver coming through Raskas now into the Anthony Hughes corner, nose corner. And across the line it's going to be Rutanius, 108.498, about a 10th clear of Dayson there.
Very nicely done from him. Very nice time out of the McLaren, and there's a lap time looking like we'll see well, at the very least a McLaren on the front row.
Yep, and we might see two in a minute because Neon with Dayson ahead of him. Dayson, well, he's about there with Neon, not happy with his lap, just completely straight lines the Nouvelle chicane.
Coming on board with another Red Bull, Matt. Coming through Sector 1, and we'll ride along with him for a nice scenic view of that beautiful car here under the lights.
Yeah, a lot of drivers now out on track, getting ready or coming in from a lap, but a few still are flying. Jamie Frenzy as well in the Haas. He's flying, just come through to back. He's up over half a second on his previous best time. Wouldn't see too much improvement in terms of position, but if he, dropped his previous lap time, and maybe there's still time to find in Sector 3. The Haas driver, DRS enabled, down towards the finish line. He's in 13th now. He's now up into P12, sub 110, so gets him a little bit closer to the front runners.
I was just taking a look at here. We were looking at Rutanius 108.498. He took the win here in Tier 3 this season. I'm gonna get his lap time. Give me a second to see what he ran here previously, but I remember vaguely he was extremely quick here.
Yeah, like I said, he loves this track. He is, this is one of his, if not, I want to say this is one of his favorite tracks. Really Zandvoort's up there, given the home Grand Prix, although events there didn't quite go as well as they did in Monaco. But Larsen, he jumps up into that top spot. The Mercedes puts himself on top. Foylos Danan only good enough for P15 with an improvement.
108.316 from Larsen. I'll tell you something. Rutanius is currently bested his previous pole time around Monaco already. His pole time back then was a 108.569 unicorn. He's already run a 108.498, so he's got more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, a credit to what league racing does to a driver over the course of a season. Everyone says it, but you really do start to see improvement out of these guys once they've been racing in a competitive environment. There is nothing quite like a league racing environment to own your skills, really, trial by fire is sort of how it is, because the more you race, put yourself in that scenario, the better you're going to be. There's only so many laps and so many tenths that going around in time trial will, get you. But putting yourself into the pressure cooker that is league racing, you'll find time. Dayson's still struggling. He's already dropped his lap already, coming out of Sector 1.
Trying to find an active flyer here. Looks like the McLaren on it again. Neon. Under the cover of Dirk Chocolate this evening. I think Dirk's there in an engineering capacity, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he can confirm.
It was definitely over in the chat earlier, so I would not be surprised. And, Neon and Dirk, obviously teammates in the combined constructors, very deep into Raskas, though. And straight into the pits for the Dutchman.
Alex Budd coming through to say he's the engineer. Roger that, Mr. Budd.
Freeware. Caught it quits in the pit lane. I think. I don't think he crashed. He said he's praying for a... Oh, I think he crashed. He's saying he's referring to an incident with Shenjie in Tier 1, which was a crash out of casino.
Britannia is still the line, no improvement. He's on the rear polo queue right now, and not sure what happened there for the McLaren. Ackrade coming into the chicane is very quick.
As well, the Williams of... I'm just going to shorten that to Yag there because I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the whole thing, but Yag coming through into Raskas. A little bit of a lock up on the front right.
Here goes Ackreid's 108.6. Solid time from him. 4th position. I'm going to agree with you. We'll go with Yag for the evening.
No, it's not a bad time. Puts him 10th on the timing tower, and Ackreid as well. Newly appointed Tier 1 driver, I believe.
This Polo Q for a solid improvement on an 11.777 here. Coming out of the final turn to the line. What's it going to be for the AlphaTauri? Well, he does improve, but it is not good enough to put himself into any further position.
Ben's flying right. Oh, Ben's crashed.
Oh,
Ben's crashed into the Grand Hotel hairpin.
That is not good for the Mercedes, and we know Ben to be a driver with extreme pace.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a weapon out on the track when he is unleashed, and usually it's qualifying that showcases himself, where he showcases himself, but only P9 right now. And Ian's leading the championship over in the APEC division because of that pace.
Baptist coming through into Raskas. He sees Ackreid. He has to pull just to the inside. I think that's compromised him. He's up for nearly a 2-second improvement right now. What's it going to be? It's a 3.6 second improvement. It's a 109.162. Tuptus into the top 10.
A Yasko on a fly right now, but who is that?
That's Sindako. Currently on an outlap. He's got a McLaren coming through behind him as well. That's Neon on an outlap.
Well, we're just in qualifying, and we are already seeing the challenges that Monaco imposes upon the drivers. Yasko and invalidation. I don't think it would have been a particularly great lap given just the surprise of seeing a racing point on the inside there coming out of the hairpin. But in a way, invalidated through the chicane regardless.
Tough. Is he going around again? Yes, he is. Switch on to a different Ferrari. Liam. He has unfortunately invalidated. Sindako has retired the car. That's now 2 cars retired in the pit lane here. Liam utilizing the runoff of the chicane to get himself a little bit ahead into the pits.
I'm just trying to find out what Ben's time was in qualifying here.
4 doors had an issue of some capacity here in the hairpin. Not sure.
Well, keeping himself out of the way through the tunnel as Rutanius, he starts a new flyer. We'll see what the McLaren can do. We're in the closing moments of the session. The session should be a little longer, I expect.
He might get
the timing is sure. Yeah, there is an AlphaTauri right there in front of him.
Very good timing for that AlphaTauri to get out of dodge.
Absolutely, you don't want to see someone get impeded now. Free and clear air for Rutanius to just see what he can do. A little bit of a slide as he comes out of Portier, but nothing that should impact his lap time. You sometimes see the sliding setups are the fastest that the drivers can handle. It's sometimes how the pace goes as he comes now through to back, nice and clean through there. And absolutely flying as he comes into the pool section. Now into Raskas, getting it nice and tight through there. Flying through the final couple of corners. DRS enabled to the line. Can he take pole? Yes, he can. A 108.2 for the Dutchman. Larsen's on an invalidated flyer. I don't know if he's got time to go around again because the timing might be off here.
Well, Larsen Invalid, Dason invalid, Acraid coming through the tunnel, looking like he is not improved through Sector 1. Lars and Dason into the pit lane. They will not be improving here. Acraid, will he be able to find something through Sector 2 and 3? He's found he's found 7 milliseconds in Sector 2. He's really slid it through Sector 3, and that's going to be a done lap for him, and I imagine he's straight into the pit lane here. Yep, there we go.
Ben qualified P10 on mediums there. Snuck in at the end. I was just looking at his time in APAC, a 108.1. Wouldn't have seen him pole position of this grid, but he didn't go up for his final one on softs. He chose the medium tire strip. Interesting call from him. Maybe he was expected to be a little bit higher than he was here. Only good enough for P10. Still, to get into the top 10 at Monaco on mediums, no mean feat. And I think he'll try the medium soft here. I think that's what his plan is. The one stop should be possible if the tires are scaled correctly. And of course, you want to minimize pit stops. It's Monaco. Track position is absolutely everything. So you want to minimize the amount of tires you're going into the pits. Is he going again here? No, he's not. He is. This is just the end of the session. It did look like it was pushing, but it's P10 for Ben the Bear. The tire driver securing it on the mediums.
Oof, what a qualifying session this was in Rutanius. He took pole position here in Tier 3. He's, of course, leading that division still. He takes pole position here, improving by 4/10 pretty well on the pole time he set here months ago, and just a solid lap from the Dutchman here in the McLaren. Now, of course, we have Larsen, the Danish driver, in the Mercedes, with Dason rounding out our top 3, the British racer in the Haas. Of course, we'll get on through the rest of this grid on the formation lap, but I am very, very excited to see all of this action unfold. 78 laps. We're going to have a formation lap as well. And I'm also curious to see what the tire strategies are going to be for anyone outside of that top 10. We saw Ben the Bear get into the top 10 on the mediums, which is going to be huge. And I'm also curious to see how we have things on the opening lap of this race. Ladies and gentlemen, get those predictions in the chat. The safety car is enabled. It's a 100% distance race, full damage. Things can go sideways, literally very, very quick.
Yeah, absolutely. The one stop here, I think, is going to be the way to go. It just depends on how long you want to take your tires and which tires you go for. Because obviously you could go for, particularly those guys that's at the top 10, they've got the mediums and the hards available to them. I don't think we'll see too many hards, but it's definitely, worth a shot to try it. Let's have a look now as we load into the formation lap. All mediums, with the exception of Ben's on softs. And Polo is on soft as well in P20. Interesting choice from him. Maybe going to try and gain a couple of places on the start, or in the first stint, I should say. Getting it off the start is not something that's really possible in Monaco. Maybe one position down into Saint-Devote, but well, let's have a look at the grid here tonight. Rutanius, the Dutchman, starts on pole here. The Tier 3 driver absolutely loves this track. He starts on pole position in the McLaren. Larsen there in second behind him with Dason, his street track specialist. He really loves these types of circuits with the close walls. He starts third. Acraid starts fourth. Neon under the guise of Dirk Chocolate there. Teammate and fellow coachman of Rutanius for the evening in P5. Yama in P6. Psycho in 7th. Freeware in 8th. Taptus in 9th. And Ben the Bear starts 10th on softs for whatever reason. Yag, he starts in 11th on the softs as well. Then the medium runners start. We have Matt, Liam, Sindarko, Jamie, Yasko, Dark, Driver DNB, four-door sedan. And then rounding out this grid is Polo Q on the soft tires in 20th position.
Very interesting strategy coming out of the two drivers in the backfield here in that back 10. Yag and Polo, both on these softs. Ruta, Lars, and Dason now approaching their grid positions. Polo, the rear of the grid, and what a race we are about to witness here. 20 drivers, 78 laps, full damage, strict corner cutting, and it's a night race to boot. Welcome to MRL Endurance. Round 5, big shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. Of course, we have a major tournament on the horizon, exclamation event in the chat, but it's time, Unicorn. Take us away.
There we go. We've got 5 red lights here on in Monaco. There will be a little bit of desync, but there we are. The lights have gone out for all of the drivers as well. Rutanius has had a good start. Dason instantly gets Larson on the line. Dirk Chocolate, aka Neon's got past. Acrade's into the wall. Acrade has had a serious problem on the start here. He is chopping like a stone, already down 4 places. Matt's had a problem, and there has been
a lot of end
a
plates.
VSD.
A lot of end plates have come flying off here. Fortunately, no terminal damage. Dason on the rear of Rutanius. Neon right behind him in 3rd. What a long race. These guys better buckle up.
A good thing. Only a VSC. Now, that's a good thing depending on who you ask, because a couple of these drivers are gonna need some fresh wings to be able to survive the streets of Monte Carlo. So we'll see who comes into the pit lane. Dason there, taking
big chunk of that inside.
Yeah, but I don't know whether to pick up a warning or not there, but I think he was just trying to stay as close to Rutanius as he possibly could, because if the VSC had ended there coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane and Rutanius was sleeping.
Oof.
Free wet.
Yeah,
that's bad news for the German.
He got caught there.
Penalty.
That's not good at all. You see some exchanging now as drivers come into the pit lane. I imagine we're going to see a ton of drivers into the pit lane, and that's all right, as it's a long campaign here around Monaco. Rutanius, Dason, Dirk, aka Neon, or Neon aka Dirk, whichever way you want to go with it this evening. Your top 3. We have Larsen, Yama.
Yeah, now, this top pack, you've got, all the way down from 1st to 8th. Sindaka there just holding on. And looking at the tires here, Sindaka's in a really good place. He is not too far behind this front group, but that's not really his main contention. He is 5 seconds clear of his closest medium runner. Now, if this reverse strategy works out for him, he could be on for some really nice points here. He's already in the points. Oh, I say it, but I hate to break it to him. That is a bit of a commentator's curse, and I must apologize as he loses his end plate coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane. It is just an end plate, but an end plate will feel like a lot more than that here at Monaco. That will take a huge chunk of time out of each of his laps, and now you can already see it. He's starting to fall backshift to Jamie there in the Haas behind.
That front left, and oof, it's gonna hurt you around a circuit like Monaco big time. 1.3 dropping. See that gap growing to Yags in front of him. Yama still very tight to the rear of Larsen. Larsen starting to fall off of the front 3, and this isn't good news for Yama. Someone's had an issue just ahead of the pit lane here. Yasko. No, it's Matt. Excuse me. Matt in the Red Bull, front right, wing damage. A major portion of it is missing, and now he's coming in for some hards. Also serving a penalty here.
Yeah, getting a fresh front wing and getting onto those hard tires. We'll see how long he goes. Ben, he's onto those hards as well. I don't know whether he was caught up in that opening fight, or that opening, should I say, incident on lap 1, but he's in for the hards. He's back out on track. He's got a lot of pace in that Mercedes, but it's a tough, hill to overcome, given that he's already nearly a lap down. It's a short lap here in Monaco. You can see the leaders. They've already lapped Matt here.
Big snap.
Matt has already been lapped by the top 8.
Yeah, he is not having a good run at the minute. I was just looking at Dirk. Jason right now. Jason had a big snap coming through Casino. Dirk was looking to pounce.
Yeah, Rutanius is also, he's got that 1 second gap now to Dason, although Dason getting through the Nouvelle Chicane much nicer than Rutanius. Caught about 2.5 seconds through there and out to back, so the AEST really dominating Sector 3 right now, whereas the McLaren seems to be a little bit faster in the faster first and second sectors.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dason also had a superlative performance here in Tier 1 this season. To have it undone by a fault in strategy due to a safety car? Am I remembering this correctly? It was a big upset.
He had a good start to this race. I want to say he had a good start. Didn't end well for him, but started strong, gained a lot of positions in the early race, or something along those lines. Let me fact check that for you for a minute, Jeff. Certainly Dason at these street circuits that he does, love ever so much. He's had some great starts. Vietnam, he had a great, run there before that one went poorly for him.
Well, there's the 3-second time penalty out of Dirk in third position. He's really starting to drop here on the rear of these two in front.
Yeah, Fraser coming through there with the reminder, and I just got off the Racing Hub website. Dason qualified pole here in Tier 1. But
there we go.
He went too long on the strategy, and that really cost him to people who undercut him, and he ended up finishing 8th in that race.
Oh, Dason.
So let's see what he can produce on that.
Let's just hang out for a minute here in front of things as well. Let's switch back here. What's happened? There's been an issue. What happened?
Top just had an issue through to back. He's lost the right end plate there. I wonder whether he was missing that left end plate, misjudged the entrance speed into Tabac, and just bounced into the wall, or just understeered into the wall. I imagine that's what happened for the Racing Point. He's coming in for a fresh wing. Well, no, he's not. He's coming in to retire from the session. 6 laps in, we've lost our first driver.
Yasko's had a huge issue. He just took an end plate off. Now he's crashed the car. He's looking the wrong way. He's reset to track. And that is a yellow flag in Sector 3 and a VSC deployment.
Well, Yasko, he didn't have a brilliant Tier 3 race here. You can see
well,
there.
he's
Rutanius. Rutanius there just picked up Yasko's front wing as he comes past the Ferrari car that was. And if this was real Formula 1, I think they've closed the pit lane for that one and would have a full safety car. But that is very, very unfortunate to see Yasko there. He did not have a good time in the Tier 3. I was just mentioning through Raskas. It was a Psycho and Yags. They're going to come into the pit lane. They're going to get off of these softs. I assume it's going to be hard to the end. They're going for mediums. We'll see whether those can make it to the end. You can do a lot of laps on these medium compound tires. I don't know whether they're about to go to the end here, but you can see these huge stints. You see it in real life. We might see it tomorrow, maybe. Lewis Hamilton, he did a monster stint a few years back. But Dason right on the gearbox of Rutanius. A little slide as they come out of Portier. Interestingly enough, the Haas has a lot more ERS.
Oh. Rutanius had that solid outside on the way in. I thought maybe Dason might have tried to switch and look inside. Maybe spook him. He's just going to hold patient here.
Yeah, you don't want to take any unnecessary risks here in Monaco. Realistically, the only time you want to be, making aggressive moves like that, diving down into the Nouvelle Chicane, is later in the race. In these early portions, when you're sat behind the leader, you're basically doing as much as you can. There is no need for Dason to overtake Rutanius right now unless he thinks he's got a lot of trapped speed. And he has caught Rutanius over the last few laps, so that might be the case. The problem is you want to have the strategy unfold. That's what you want to wait for. You want to wait, see what happens, and then once you're in those final sort of positions, if you're then behind someone, that's when you take a few more risky moves. Acraid, speaking of moves, into Sandovot turn 1, picks off Dark, who picks up 3-second time penalty. The Renault dropping down to 13th. Nicely done from the Alpha Tauri. I think the Renault might be missing a front right end plate. He is. So damage there. That's what forced him wide, I imagine. And Acraid taking full advantage. Nicely done from the Alpha Tauri. We'll see whether he can pick off four-door as well, because he seems to have a lot of pace right now.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I think Acraid's trapped at the minute. Maybe hunting down
I think he pitted for lap 1. He got caught in that incident. He's on 6 lap olds mediums compared to 7 lap olds, so possibly some trap pace there as well.
Didn't have the most ideal exit to try and get a run on four-door into the chicane here. Switch back to the front of things. Dason, Rutanius coming up the hill. Dason just dancing in and around that half-second range as four-door takes 3 seconds. A few more penalties starting to show themselves on this timing tower this evening.
Yeah, and it's a long race. We're not even 10 laps in yet. There's 78 to go. And if you're...
Ooh, very tight for Acraid on the rear four-door. Sorry to interrupt you there, Unicorn. I thought he might have had an opportunity to make the move. It certainly looked like it. Now we have a retirement in the pit lane from the Red Bull driver of Matt. And we are now down to 17 running.
Well, he was, you know,
I can't blame
four.
him considering his situation at all in that car.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough one. You know, retiring that car early in the race manually, it's always a bit demoralizing. But when you're lapped so early on in the race around a track like Monaco, where overtaking is pretty much impossible, you can understand why he's called it quits and brought that car back to the Red Bull pit box. But the top 3, Strift, still clinging on to one of the Neon. He's been pushing over the last few laps to close the door to Dason. He's stuck there, even while Dason has closed the door back to Rutanius. So this top 3, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they do. Also worth noting, we got 2 McLarens in this front fight, Strift. So Dason, he's got the opportunity. He can react, but he could also go first. He's got sort of a power here. One of the McLarens will always lose out, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, well, we've seen it happen with Neon a couple times in just the Tier 1 division. What can happen when he's running that closely with his teammate? What happens if there's some kind of safety car situation? It would be very, very unfortunate to be caught up in that.
Yeah,
Jason
absolutely. Matt
has some space to Jamie.
Matt just coming across in the chat saying screen freezes there are what cost him all that time in the first few stints. So technical issues plaguing a driver, and you hate to see it.
Here we go, Acraid. He has a run. He's looking at four-door out of the tunnel. Four-door still holding well. Gonna stay in 11th out of the chicane, and Acraid there, he was tight, but he just did not have an opportunity to pull that trigger. Freeware has taken now 3 seconds, and Liam in the Ferrari, he is hunting down a position. He's hunting down Dark in that Renault. We know Dark has damage right now. Had a bit of a slide through Rascas. On the inside now. Ooh, a little bit of a wheel bang there, a little bit of a cut off, and Dark's actually taking his other wing off now.
Where's Freeware on the outside of Liam? He's going to try and take him down into Sandovot, the Red Bull driver, taking full advantage of this one around the outside of turn 1. Not getting exited, but Dark's going so slow up the hill. And he's completely boxed Liam in there.
Wow. What racing we just witnessed there. And of course, Acraid still on the rear four-door. Dason, Dirk, nothing doing just yet in that top 3 on the rear of Rutanius. But things are happening at the further end down of this grid. Yeah, I'm up 3 seconds. You see these penalties, they're starting to really, really come through onto this timing tower for these drivers. Acraid, he hasn't been able to do anything about four-door. Four-door's been holding well here.
Yeah, it's Monaco. You expect to see people stuck behind others for a quite lengthy period of time. The one thing that's interesting to me is I'm surprised Liam didn't get any damage. You do not see people overtaking through the anti-nose corner. And well, there's a bit of contact between Akrade and Fordor, I think. Fordor lost his rear end, whether there was contact or not. And Akrade now is past the Alfa Romeo driver. I don't think there's damage on the AlphaTauri, so if there was contact, it wasn't high speed. But he gets it done down the start-finish straight.
Dark has come in, he's fit the hards. And I imagine a wing change, given he was missing both end plates by the time he made it in there. Driver, I think he just dispatched Jamie through the tunnel.
Well, there's a big gap there if he did. Straight line speed potentially for the Renault. Dason, he does not want a repeat of history, it would seem. He is not going to go too long. He is into the pit lane.
Mediums. Alrighty.
It's early, but it's not ridiculously early.
This is the first domino if you're a soft runner. The undercut here, some idiot in my experience commentating has shown me on several counts that the undercut here is extraordinarily powerful. What's happened now? Jamie has retired the car in the pit lane. Thankful, I imagine, Dason, that happened after he got that tire change done.
Yeah, absolutely. He would be, in a real bad spot. Potentially, Jamie there holding off until he saw that teammate in the pits thing. If that's the case, props to him for doing that and making sure he didn't impact his teammates. So obviously this one, teammates are just selected cars at first come, first serve, so people can get their favorite cars. But, that means that these guys, they're not permanent teammates. There's not that much camaraderie between them as we see in the other divisions, but they do like to work together. Rutenius, Neon, both good friends. Neon now, he's into the pit lane. We were saying that Dason was holding the cards. Now, if the undercuts work here, it will work a lot on Rutenius. We'll see what happens here. Neon getting onto the mediums as well, reacting nicely to what the Brit has done.
Dason is just sitting on driver right now, and this can cost him overall to the drivers that he was fighting with. Here comes Neon now.
Well, remember, Neon will cut Sander Vought with the pit exit. I'm not sure if he crossed the line there, but either way, he's out behind Dason.
Oh,
Dason's got through.
He did, and that was a very daring move coming up the hill there.
Well, extra traction will do that to you. The, Massenet into Casino. It's a brave overtake, but it can be so good. We saw an excellent move in APAC earlier this season around there. It was absolutely beautiful. And when it's done correctly, looks great. Neon's also got a penalty as well. So now that Dason can sort of extend his gap to him with driver there being the cork in the bottle. Neon pushing as they come through the tunnel down towards the Nouvelle Chicane. Can he get him here on the lunge? He won't. He's late on the brakes, though, and nearly went into the back of the runner. Maybe on the exit. Not going to happen. A little bit of shake for Neon as well. Now, surely Rutenius has to pit as well. He doesn't. Rutenius is going around again. Rutenius is pushing now.
Impatience here from the McLaren. We saw what happened with... We saw how... Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take a moment to explain to you what we just watched. So, what we watched there was we saw Dason approach that with patience and overtake the car. And now we've seen Neon approach the situation with impatience, crash the car, and then retire the car out of rage after taking the damage. That's what we've just seen. Alright? And that is extremely unfortunate to happen in a 100% distance race.
Yeah, we're only on lap 15. Plenty of time to get a move, particularly on a car that has to come back into the pit lane. Apparently, Yama might have had a game crash, so fingers crossed we can get him back in here. But yeah, very unfortunate to see Neon out of this one. 5 cars now out of the race. Rutenius is into the pit lane, the other McLaren driver. Now, where does Dason land in all this? He's currently in P5. Clear air for the Haas driver. We saw him get ahead of Neon. Rutenius is out, but it's going to be completely way behind Dason. Look at the strategy here, Striff, for Dason. He has absolutely learned from his tier 1 mistake. And now we see him absolutely overtake as Rutenius comes up behind Jag.
That's huge.
because Neon was between the two, if I remember. He was in what would have been P6 now. He was behind Driver ahead of Yang. Rutanius has dropped 2. That is how powerful the undercut has just been here in Monaco. Dason has a huge advantage now. He is, what is that, 6.5 seconds ahead of Rutanius, who has traffic. Dason, well, he's caught traffic too. Yama, the disconnected car. Dason's going to get him as they come out of Portier through the tunnel. But we'll get Yama an invite, hopefully, and get him back in control of that car. There he is. He's back into the session. Dark, he retires from the session. Unfortunate to see.
Jason, yeah, he really pulled off a solid run here with that undercut. And the bear on the rear of Sindako trying to get himself through this grid to unlap himself.
Well, he got lapped from an extra pit stop shift. We saw him on the hards earlier in this race. Now getting out of the way of Dason there. Ben knows what it's like to be, a fast car on track getting past blue flags. Doesn't want it to be a hindrance. Rutanius, he gets past Yag up the hill. I don't know if there's a problem there for the Williams, because look how much time they've lost to Driver there. So not sure if there was an issue for him. Rutanius has used a lot of battery as well. He's really dabbling into the teens and even the single digits at points on the energy as they come through the Grand Hotel hairpin there. Ben does not have damage for those RC in chat, but Dason, well, he could cause some damage here as he gets right behind Sindako. It's the fight for P2. Doesn't want to make the move there. The final sector, really not a place for overtaking. Larson into the pit lane from P1. He was here, but he's coming in. He is getting off of his softs that he started on, as is Yama. Now up the hill they go. Dason, Sindako. Dason very close behind the racing point. Looks for a way outside of Massenet. Up the inside into Casino. There's a little bit of a tap to the wall. I don't think he got any damage. They're still side by side as they go down into Mirabao. And the Haas is through. Just about squeezing it through on the outside there. Dason being bold. He loves a street circuit strip. And I think we can see why. What an excellent move. He really wanted that. He really needed it. And he just about got it done.
Checking that Haas, I can say Sindako has damage, but he's had that damage for some time in that racing point. It wasn't as a result of that move, I'm sure. And the front end looking fairly clean on that Haas.
Yeah, I don't know whether Dason would have picked up a slight, 10% damage. Sometimes you get a little scratch on the front wing that sometimes doesn't get visibly brought through to us here in the commentary booth, but it can be reflected on the in-game damage monitor that the drivers have. So we'll see whether his lap times drop off. Obviously now he's extending his gap up at the front, but that's to Sindako, who has a significant portion of wing damage. So a little bit of an unfair comparison as Yag there had a bit of a slide through Sandovot, trying to catch his way up to Driver. Driver on 18 lap old mediums right now. Nowhere near the end of his stint, or at least it shouldn't be, depending on what tyre strategy he's going for. I imagine the medium soft, so really going to extend those tyres to a lot longer than they are right now, over double where he is right now. But a nice little gap here, fight forming for P4.
Definitely a solid fight for P4 right now. Things at a very interesting position, considering we've had some pit stops come through. We've had 2 VSCs in this race. We have a good chunk of different tire strategies going on due to some early lap incidents, some end plates coming off. Dason currently leading this race, and he's running away from the drivers he was in close proximity with earlier as a result of a fantastic undercut. Of course, if you're just tuning in, this is round 5 of the Endurance Series. We hold one of these races every weekend of a Formula 1 Grand Prix, and we try to do a race to emulate the circuit we race on. So, of course, this weekend, the iconic Monaco Grand Prix. We have a great tournament coming through soon, the Misfits Grand Championship. You can get involved. You can get in on all the action and participate. ! Event for all the details. Cash prizes, giveaways are going to be happening as well. 80 drivers. A fantastic tournament of epic proportions. And we'll be working with our great partners, Next Level Racing, to bring you a super cool giveaway of an F-GT Light racing seat.
Yeah, and worth putting out there, Sindako came into the pits, wasn't happy with the front wing damage, it would seem, got himself onto some fresh mediums. He started on the mediums shift, so he's coming in again. He has just pitted for repairs there. Still on for points.
Ag just picked up a 3-second coming through the chicane, and that's going to hurt him. That's his first penalty for the evening. Not too many drivers on this grid without penalties now, and someone's had an issue. Was it? It was Psycho.
It's Psycho.
There is our third VSC of the evening.
Yeah, there's going to be some debris somewhere in the pool section. I think maybe Yama could get a look at it. I don't know where it is. But there's a big portion of that front wing missing on the Alfa Romeo. So definitely going to be some debris somewhere over between turns 13 and 16 where the yellow flags were popping up. So unfortunate, but Acraid speeding under the VSC picks up a drive through. We saw Freeware pick one up earlier in the race. He's clawed his way back into 7th. It will be 6th after Acraid serves his penalty. It's not net P6, but it will be P6 on track. So the Germans still on for points. Particularly, we've only got 13 drivers left, Strip. 21 laps out of 78. A lot of penalties, a lot of retirements. Strong points here for anyone who is able to keep their nose clean. Jason and Rutanius right now, the standout favorites, with Larson as well. Not having a bad race either at Mercedes. We haven't spoken about it too much. He's really just kept himself out of things. Ben the Bear, I didn't see him retire, Striff. It must have been in the pit lane.
Yeah, it was just as that VSC came out. Unfortunate.
Well, he wasn't having the best race of his career. Won this race in APAC. No, with a pole position. Wasn't able to get that time in. Qualified 10th. I imagine he was having some sort of game issue that put him on the soft cover tire. Driver DMB into the pit lane. Acraid's coming as well. I think driver there getting a wing change in the Renault. Acraid's in to serve a drive-through.
So tough to take a drive-through penalty. Yama looking at Liam, looking for that inside into Sandoval, and well, he doesn't get it. Liam's on 20-lap-old mediums versus Yama's much fresher compound.
And you can see the traction difference as he has a look up the inside into Mirabao. And, well, there's the traction difference right there. The Williams now going to try it around the outside. The Grand Hotel hairpin, the slowest corner in F1, and he gets the move done. Clean as a whistle. A little bit of wheel banging here and there. But around Monaco, right, you've got to say that's brilliant. And yeah, Liam under threat down into the Nouvelle chicane.
I think it's going to be a move here. The inside for the Italian. Does he have it here? Oh, it's so tight as we come through the chicane. They're still wheel to wheel, and there goes Sindako with the grip again. Coming through for a solid overtake. Liam has dropped 2 positions.
Absolutely. The fresh mediums there showing that strategy plays a lot of a role in Monaco here, because not only does it, track position is so important, but around a track that is difficult to overtake at, the reason it's difficult is because these cars are so wide. When you can squeeze up the inside into some of these corners because you've got extra traction, that's what's so important about getting the strategy right. Not just the track position, but the extra traction as well. Also, whilst you just got passed twice, you've got to give a big, shout out to Liam there. It takes a lot to know how much space to leave around this track. It is so difficult, and he allowed for 2 great battles as Larson gets past Jag there through the tunnel. But going back to Liam, leaving space in 2 very tricky sections side by side through the Nouvelle chicane is no mean feat. Neither is going side by side cleanly through the hotel hairpin. So well done to Liam for keeping that clean, but also Yama, Sindako deserve all the praise for those overtakes. As Larson, he got P3, but he's got a 3-second time penalty now as well, as he looks to hunt down the 2 leaders. He's 10 seconds behind Rutanius, who is 7.7 strift now behind Dason, and both are pretty low on ERS.
Well, I wonder if Rutanius will be able to slowly break down that gap to Dason. We saw Rutanius have some serious pace here. We're looking at Sindako right now. He's hunting down Yama. There's a little bit of a tire differential in the favor of the Italian in 7th, and he's been slowly breaking down this gap after taking the Ferrari behind him in 8th. That's Liam, of course, who's on a very much older set of mediums. Psycho in 10th. He's tight to Acraid. Acraid having served that drive-through penalty. Dason has just picked up 3 seconds. Walk up for Acraid. Psycho within half a second as we come into the Grand Hotel hairpin.
Well, we're in that sort of portion of the race where tire strategy now really gripping the grid, really spacing everything out, as well as the various wing changes that are coming across, a couple of drive-throughs here and there. I want to see where Freeway lands in all this stuff. He had that drive-through penalty earlier in the race. Now, doing well to fight back. Psycho on the rear of Acraid as well. He's catching. Ooh. As Acraid goes into the wall, I think, and then play flying off the AlphaTauri. Let's buy the Alfa Romeo there. I don't think he wants to cause a problem. I think he was already missing an end plate, and as a result, he's just gone wide there through to back into the wall, into the pit lane. Goes the AlphaTauri. We'll see what tires he goes for. He started on the softs, I believe, and he's going for softs now. So I'm just going to double check that. Then he did start on the soft compound tires, but I think he did. I think he pitted early with damage.
Sindako has dispatched Yama just on their way into the hairpin. Sindako now in 5th, Yama 6th. Liam is dropping off significantly with his older mediums. Oh. What the heck? Uh-oh, we have an issue here. What on earth have I just witnessed?
Well, I didn't see it, but I can see what you're talking about. There is a Williams very confused at the Mirabel. Yama is back in control of that car, or at least he's back in the session. He had a disconnect earlier, but definitely a few problems for the Williams.
That's very unfortunate.
Game crash people coming across in chat to inform us there. So, a few issues plaguing a couple of drivers. We lost Matt earlier to screen freezing. Now, Yama really struggling as a result of a game crash, or I think that's his second of the race. Very unfortunate. You can see that the timing tower has disappeared as we just wait for everyone to cross the finish line to get that back. As we did have Yama rejoin the session there, but it's good to have him back. Fingers crossed he can recover, and still potential to score points. He's got his work cut out for him, but it's very possible. Sindako on the rear of Freeware. He's catching on much fresher mediums and a fresh front wing as well for the Italian.
Look, he was just taking 3 seconds for corner cutting. Rutanius has apparently picked up damage, although nothing visible on our end.
Yeah, still both end plates on that car, so I think that's going to be what I alluded to earlier with Dason. Maybe a scratch on the front can be about 10%. It'll be lime green on the in-game damage monitor. It won't, while we can't see it, it's not visible damage. It does play a role, and you can feel it, especially around a track like Monaco. So for Rutanius, that is not good news, especially as he was falling back to Dason anyway. Sindako getting very close to the rear of Freeware as they come through into the hotel hairpin. But nothing doing for the Italian right now to get past the German. Also, he's got that fuel warning light on, so he's been pushing, it would seem. He's using ERS now as they come through the tunnel. Can he get anything done? We've seen him dispatch one car through here already tonight. He's going on the inside into the chicane, and Sindako for the second time this evening picks off a driver coming through the Nouvelle chicane, and he moves himself up into P4. Great stuff from the Italian so far tonight in the Racing Point. Really burning off some fuel on ERS, but he won't care. He is carving his way through this grid. He does have to pit again, though. He started on this race on mediums. He's come in for fresh wing and gone back onto the mediums. So he'll be paying for softs at the end of this race, like he would have been planning to anyway.
Acraid, Polo Q, wheel to wheel into the chicane. The Alpha Tauris are battling. There's been contact. There's a safety car been deployed. Polo Q's out. He had contact with the inside wall, and somehow he is out of the race.
Did he hit the wall? I think it's the front right suspension that's broken. Oh,
no, I think it's the front left. I don't
front
know.
left. I didn't see him hit the wall. See that Rutenius really struggling to navigate his way past that crashed car as well. But this is big news, Jeff. This. What do you do if you're... Well, Dason's staying out. Dason has stayed out here. I want to know... I reckon for Rutenius, he could come in for fresh mediums here. I don't know. He's not going to do it. He thought about it. I imagine he's having a bit of a conversation there with, I think, Alex Budd, his engineer for the evening. Larson is in. Larson is coming into the pit lane. Sindarko, he's on fresh medium. So if I was him, I would take the track position here. I don't know if he's going to be close enough to get Larson. Freeware, well, he's definitely coming in, surely, for some fresh mediums. Yep, he is indeed. Or maybe even hards. Maybe even hards to the end here. Taking the free safety car. Mediums. Staying out for the place. Sindaku does get Larson. Larson, I'm assuming there. Maybe a front wing change or penalty serve. Not quite sure which. Psycho, he gets Liam as he stays out. He's going to get Freeware too. Driver as well. He gets both of them having pitted recently. Yeah, will he get Freeware? Freeware's going to cut turn one because of the pit lane exit, and he does stay ahead of the Williams. And Swift, this is what this race needed. This is what this race needed. We've now got a lot of people on the same tyre, different age, but the same tyre. We've got a couple of hard runners to dish in a bit of different strategy. We've got Acraid there, 3 laps old soft. He is going to be very dangerous on this restart. A lot of potential for him to maybe get a move through, you know, Mirabao, maybe out of Portier down into the chicane. We'll see what he can produce in the opening few laps after the safety car restart. But Dason, the gap now, his lead is completely eradicated. And we do have a couple of lapped cars. We've got 4-door sedan there in the mix. Yama as well. They should be the only lapped cars though. So good news there for everyone else. But for Dason, bad news all around pretty much, Shift.
This is really gonna... I've always said safety cars can create more safety cars as well. Now we've had a few VSCs here. Now we have a full safety car, and I have a funny feeling we're gonna see this race really get shaken up now. We've got penalties in the mixture. It's gonna be a wild ride. We've got 12 racers left in here.
Yeah, lap 30. We've still got 48 to go. If you were to do a traditional league race around here, I do believe it would be 39 laps. So we haven't even got through a 50% race yet, let alone the additional laps that a 100% race adds to this. We have been going for just under an hour and 20 minutes. So a big shout out to everyone at home watching along here. I hope you're enjoying the show as much as I am commentating it with Striff here, of course, around Monaco and Striff the drivers here. It's difficult. It will really be taking their toll on them now. The concentration levels will really be setting in, and this safety car will have just taken a few people out of their flow. You know, Dason, he's been out there for 17 laps now, just chugging away on his own, really. Now slowed right down behind the safety car. It's got to take, if you're that driver, Striff, it's got to take you out of it, surely, you know, really break that flow that he was in just a few moments ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this safety car can really disrupt your rhythm, as can a VSC. Can catch you out on a restart with the difference in tire wear. You haven't really felt that progression as much as you would just driving lap after lap.
And as well, you mentioned it there, the difference in tires now will cause everyone on the fresher rubber to have, as Freeware's had a bit of a problem. It appears that Yags there might have gone into the rear of him. 5 seconds for the German driver And he has to pit again, so he's going to have to serve that one in the pit lane, which is unfortunate for him in that Red Bull. Everyone's bunched up nicely quickly, so fingers crossed. Things get on the way, shortly. The problem here, Shiv, is that we have the likes of Yama and Fordor. They are ahead of everyone, bar Rutanius and Dason Freeware. He's got another one there, and I don't think he's going to be too happy with that. Williams just giving him a few love taps, it would seem. But going back to the tires here, the strategy here revolves around track position. And when you are in lead of things and you get out into, like Dason did, he pitted, he's got out in first. He got out there because he came in early, because he was fast on his softs now. He's lost that advantage. He is now under pressure from people behind with much fresher tires, which wouldn't have happened had we not had the safety car. Safety car's in. They're keeping them warm from their tires. When does Dason go? That is the real question on everyone's lips. I imagine as they come out of Raskas.
Did Freeware take damage? He went into the rear of driver now. Dason's gone. Rutanius. He's on the rear of him quite well. They've caught Sindako massively, and now there's been a crash. What's happened to Freeware on the restart? Oh, he hasn't crashed. He's retired the car.
Well, Sindako really struggling to get rid of the traffic here as they come up the hill. And this is great news for the front two. There has been a huge crash. What's happened there? There is four-door sedan in and amongst driver and Yag here. And that is another 2 cars out of this one.
Oh my God.
A 3-way collision at bare minimum. I do not know how that is not a safety car. There was 3 cars there on the inside going into Massenet, but no safety cars have been spawned. Just a yellow flag in sector 1. All of the cars have been removed as well, so we won't get a safety car, and not even a VSC. There's Freeware's car there causing a safety car up in sector 2. But now we go down to 9 drivers, sadly, and that is very, very unfortunate at this stage of the race. We are not even halfway through here, but Monaco is doing its usual and proving how difficult it is. It's Larson. What can he do? He is on 4-lap old mediums. He came into the pit lane, dropped him to Sindako, but he has got such a tire advantage on the guys ahead, particularly Dason, particularly Rutanius, who are on those much older mediums. Sindako, he's not got a huge disadvantage as 4-door now calls it quits in the pit lane. Liam and Akrade are in the pits as well.
Eight drivers left on this grid now. Lars and Sindako on the rear of Rutanius. Rutanius 17-lap-old mediums. We've got, of course, the Mercedes driver just on the freshest rubber amongst the medium runners, save for Yama in 8th, who's a lap down presently. DRS now enabled. Only a couple of drivers within that range. Sindako tight with Rutanius still as we come into turn 1.
Yeah, look at Sindako. He's so tight, but it's still Monaco, Jeff. The tire difference is not huge, and it's not really big enough at all to get any real tangible advantage. But despite that, Rutanius will still have to be a little bit careful. He won't be able to open up any lines that Sindako might be able to think, you know what, I can fit my car in there. And that might cost him time again to Dason, who's already 2.7 seconds ahead. The young Brit is having the time of his life. This is a real redemption drive so far for the Haas. He had, some really bad luck out in Tier 1. Qualified pole did not finish that race in first, instead finishing down in 8th, picking up just a few points rather than 25. Now he could be on for not a Tier 1 race win, but an endurance race through and around Monaco, and that is going to be a pretty sweet feeling. But still plenty of time to go for all to be unraveled for him. We just have to hope that he can stick to what he's doing right now and keep being as strong as he is. We've got an interesting fight for second place, though, amongst Rutanius, Sindaku, Larsen. Gotta say, the pace in qualifying was definitely in Rutanius' hand. Larsen wasn't too slow either, though. Pitting under that safety car, the fresh rubber. He could be a real threat, especially to Sindaku here. But we'll have to wait and see, as they are around Monaco, and these walls, they are, you know, a great defense mechanism. Just got to make sure you don't open up a gap.
Here we go now, Larsen. Just being patient, sitting on Sindaku. We get to have a nice scenic view of a few cars in a train, and just behind them they have some action here with Yama in the rear of Psycho. Yama really wanting to move through this field. Brian getting himself unlapped by the end of this campaign.
Yeah, now getting to the end really is just the goal here for many of these drivers, and you've got, you know, Yama now and lapped. He is, you know, behind Psycho on track. Sindaku still just clinging to the rear of Rutanius, not finding a way through though. And all credit to the Dutch driver for holding Sindaku there. A little bit of contact through the hairpin, I think, and a little bit of a light nudge to the rear. Nothing will be a problem for either driver, but definitely pace in that Racing Point, and there will definitely be pace in that Mercedes as well.
Sindaku, very, very tight to the rear of Rutanius. Holy Rutanius. I don't think that Sindaku knew he was going to be that hard on the brake there. He was just late, not sure. Psycho has now come into the mixture as well.
Well, Larsen, he went for a huge lunge at the inside of Sindaku. Again, probably not realizing the extent of the brakes there. And was side by side. I'm very impressed at these two drivers that they did not crash into turn 10, the start of the Nouvelle chicane. There is not a lot of space there, particularly when you're about to close in. So all props to Sindaku for not closing the door there as Liam is out.
Where has he done this?
He's crashed in the Nouvelle chicane.
Oh,
Ackroyd
no.
should have a view of this if the car is still there. There it is. Oh, he's in the rear of him.
What on earth?
And that's a VSC right there. And I can't say I am at all surprised. It is very, very unfortunate that car has now been cleared, so it won't be a problem for Dason, who doesn't see a single bit of debris. The marshal's working very quick here in Monte Carlo. Yama, well, that is the final nail in his coffin as he picks up a drive-through penalty. Ackroyd in, of course, for a fresh front wing now. And, well, no, it is a retirement for him as well.
This has been a wild ride, to say the least, here.
Yama in to serve his drive-through. Well, won't be serving that. We have 5 cars left now, 25% of the grid. And we are at that sort of halfway stage. I think we're not. The halfway point is lap 39. We are on lap 38. So very, very unfortunate here to only have 5 cars out of 20 as the yellow flags in sector 1 for Yama's car entering the track. We have impressively still got cars that can see each other on track. Dason 5.7 seconds ahead. The rest of them in almost a DRS train. Psycho just 1 second behind Larsen, but 5 cars still in this one, and we'll see what can happen here in the last half of this race. Coming through into Raskas and Sindaku not particularly quick through there. Can Larson take advantage with DRS? Sindaku, though, DRS and Rutenius to sort of throw him a lifeline there to avoid getting mugged down into Sandavot.
What an interesting race this just ended up in. We have a 4-car run here for second and third. Jason's just checked out in a 6.5 second capacity ahead. We've had a variety of different situations this evening. A lot of different skill levels and great drivers coming to participate this evening, yet only 5 remaining here at the halfway point in this race, and it's really showing you what kind of patience you need in order to race this circuit. And it's a real testament to the grueling circuit that Monaco can be for those driving it. So hats off to the 20 participating in the IRL Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow.
Well, this just goes to show, you know, this is a digital environment. This is a little bit of an issue here in the commentary booth, but yeah, obviously the F1 drivers in real life, they have a physical demand around here as well. Not only the sheer endurance, the G-force that they experience, you know, up the hill, coming through all of the corners, and it is a real tough battle here in the digital world, so you can't even comprehend what the drivers in real life must go through. So it really shows how elite those athletes are. And they're the top 20 drivers in the world for, well, at least I'd say for most open wheel series. And you know,
AEST still seems like he's under threat from Sindaku, especially when it's coming out of that tunnel. Ooh. If Rutenius had gone any further more to the left on entry there, I felt like Sindaku would have sent it.
well, Sindaku's ready. He is really holding out for this move here. The problem Sindaku has, Shift, though, he started this race on mediums.
Yeah,
he came in for a wing change. He has to come in. At some point or another, Sindaku has to leave this battle.
Well, he's not going to have a lot of traffic.
Well, that's for sure. I think the only way you'd have traffic is if we reopen this road to the general populace of Monaco. But yeah, he will have clear air, that's for sure. I think all the traffic he would have experienced, he's experiencing right now. He's sandwiched between Rutenius and Larson. And, you know, Psycho, he's dropping off a bit in P5. He's now 2.7 seconds behind. Jason absolutely flying up ahead in P1, 8.6 seconds now. The gap to lead Larson, very close to Sindaku, not able to get a move down into the Nouvelle Chicane. Something we haven't seen yet, Striff. We've seen a lot tonight. We haven't seen anyone clip their rear wheel going into the Nouvelle Chicane, which I'm quite surprised by.
The only major incident that we saw through that chicane, if I'm not mistaken, was Polo Q. When he retired. I believe it was the front left that ended up coming off.
Jason's in. Jason's come in for a wing change. He must have crashed.
Very interesting. Offs for the Haas. And this is now the pole sitter into lead of things.
Surely. Well, tire wear is generous here. But 36 laps on softs? Apparently they can go to the end, but he's going to have to do a lot of tire management. This sort of opens up a window for Sindaku as well now, because now Jason came in for soft 2. Sindaku might, you know, this is a saving grace for him. Psycho doesn't seem to quite have the pace, so maybe a podium still on for one of Sindaku or Jason, but Psycho as well. So I think, provided it all goes well for Rutenius and Larson, both drivers should be on the podium. But that third spot up for grabs. Penalty situation not huge, as Larson has a little look on the outside as they come into Raskas. But penalties, 3 seconds for everyone. Psycho, 6 seconds. We'll see whether that costs him anything, because despite the fact we only have 5 cars, Striff, it is actually surprisingly close, as Larsen has a great run, possibly, up the hill here on Sindaco. I don't think he's going to be able to get any move done, though, on the racing point. He's close, though, as they come through Massenet and into Casino. But he's not going to get through.
Psycho 4.7, Dason 8 seconds, and look at how quickly he's closing that down. What? No. Dason's crashed.
He is out of this race, and that is a safety car. It's where we saw Freeware crash out in qualifying. It's where we saw Mick Schumacher avoid qualifying by crashing out in FP3 earlier today in that warm-up practice session. And now there's only one person in this race who won't be on the podium. Larsen's got damage. That's why he dropped off. So he's got an opportunity to change his wing. This is a great opportunity for Sindaco to come in for softs as well. I wonder if we'll see Rutanius do the same. Neon was the one who came across in chat saying softs could go to the end. He was Rutanius' teammate, fellow countryman and friend. So we'll see whether Rutanius gets that information relayed to him. And I think he might have done, because he is into the pit lane. Sindaco follows. Larsen follows as well, I think, just so he's not left out. Everyone is into the pit lane. And let's see. I'm imagining softs for pretty much everyone here. And it looks like that is going to be the case.
Well, these guys are the real endurance heroes, as they have been able to make it the longest, and it's called the endurance race for a reason. Not everybody's been able to hack it tonight. Sindaco, Larsen, Rutanius, Psycho, as it stands, the 4 remaining drivers, the best of the 20 that began this campaign, and we'll just have to see how things fold or unfold through to the end of this campaign on lap 44. Everybody on to fresh softs, and
I think Rutanius must have had a wing change, Striff.
Well, for the
because
amount
he
of
was
time,
leading.
He definitely lost time here and dropped position. We look right now, 2 stops for Sindaco, 3 for Larsen, 2 for Rutanius, and 3 for Psycho, and they're all behind one another. Ruta the only one without penalties.
But now he has the problem of being the one in the traffic. He has been leading this train for so long. Dason was miles ahead before his incidents. Now Rutanius in P3, he's the one who has to get past. He's been driving defensively absolutely perfectly. He hasn't let Sindaco have an opportunity. Sindaco had pace in that racing point. You could see it before this safety car. He's putting a threat on, especially here, coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane. Rutanius was really having to defend to stop Sindaco coming side by side through to back. Now all the chips are in Sindaco's favor. He's the one leading. He had pace in that car. They're all on CEST tires. Pace is equalized in terms of car performance. Everyone had the time to change a wing, etc. All raw performance now. The only person or only factor here, penalties. Whether that plays a role, we'll have to wait and see. 34 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got, well, you take away the 30, you've got our remaining drivers here. 4 people left. We are now down to, what is that, 20% of original start as they climb up the hill, the grid. Well, the advantage here of only having 4 drivers, the grid has formed itself quite quickly, and safety car should be in at the end of this lap. So every cloud has a silver lining, as they say.
Well, the thing is here, everybody is going to be able to say, I was there and I finished that race. I was one of the 20 guys to actually complete the 78 laps around Monaco, and that'll be quite the accolade, to be fair, considering how this race has gone. It's been a very, very dynamic, unique, up and down experience for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, if you're one of these drivers, I think Rutanius, who's been at the top of things for quite some time, most of these other drivers, they've been through some traffic at some point in this race. Rutanius has been at the front since the very start. Safety car is in. But in terms of visuals, I doubt Rutanius has seen much as what have happened has gone in this race. He's been in it now for quite some time. Probably, he's got an engineer, so he will have been told, but he won't have seen anything. So watching this one back, he'll be utterly gobsmacked, I think, as to what has gone on elsewhere on the script. But we are restarting, and Sindaku here as they come out of Anthony Knows. Restarts and gets a great run on Larson, who gets a pretty decent start on Rutanius as well as they come down into Sandervoort for the 46th time this race.
That's right, lap 46 out of 78. Sindaku, Larson, Ruta, the only, well, they're the top three. We've got Psycho there. These are the 4 remaining drivers. They're all within a second. A little bit of a rubber band there for Ruta. And Dason now leaving the session after his retirement there in 5th. 3 seconds for Larson, 3 seconds for Sindaku, and 6 seconds for Psycho. Larson letting Ruta through.
Very bizarre there. Not quite sure what's happening. Maybe Larson doesn't. I reckon possibly that Larson doesn't think he has the pace here. You can see he's already dropped off. And I wonder whether he wants Rutanius to go and fight Sindaku for the hopes that he slows him down. But they've already lost 1.5 seconds. The only advantage here is that, well, it's Monaco. DRS not hugely impactful. So if Rutanius has the pace, he can catch up. But we saw earlier before the safety car, Sindaku had that pace as he sets fastest lap. 1.6 seconds the gap. He extended that gap through the final sector. We'll see what happens. Rutanius has been looking shaky through Sector 3 all day. Sector 1 and 2, though, have really been where he's shone. Now, though, he's still dropping to that racing point, so I don't think Larson, if that was his strategy, hasn't worked out for him.
Definitely. 1.3. Larson ahead of Psycho. Larson, well, heard it was an issue for him that ended up allowing Rutanius by, and Rutanius has not been able to really break down this gap to Sindaku, and Larson has just been dropping off of Rutanius, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a major separation now. Psycho has increased his penalty count from 6 to 9 as he's picked up another 3 seconds.
Really sort of brings him out of contention now. He's done well. We cannot discredit him for still being in this race. It has proved such a challenge for so many. So to still be in this on lap 4, DRS enabled. Not that anyone really is going to be able to use it, because at the rate Larson's dropping off, he will not have it. And next time that they come out of Raskas into the Anthony Knows corners and down that start-finish straight, the only DRS section on the track. He is sticking well, though, with Rutanius through Sector 1, though. Rutanius, not quite his best Sector 1. Not bad, but not his best, and that's really helped Larson in things here. But things have spaced themselves out. There it is, the final gap going to over 1 second. Larson really dancing on that DRS range. But yeah, Psycho, 9 seconds of penalties. He's dropping time significantly to the cars in front. But still, if he finishes this race, it's P4 minimum for him. And, well, I think he could be happy with that one. There's been, there's tier 1 drivers in here. You've got Ben the Bear, leader of the APEC Championship. So plenty of competitive drivers in here. And for Psycho to come in and beat them, well, that's quite the achievement, Striff.
Yeah, without a doubt. Making it through. There's been a lot of action in this race. We saw a ton of action in this race, and it's not over. We still have a good chunk of racing left between these 4 racers, and I'm happy to see how it unfolds after such a long haul.
Yeah, Larson just gained a big chunk of time on the second half of that lap to Rutanius. I think Rutanius might have run a bit wide. Not quite sure. But Larson back within Rutanius. But look at the time Rutanius gained through the hairpin there. I know he loves this track. I spoke to Rutanius, especially when we were here for tier 3. But he's a big fan of Monaco. He won that race. Might not be able to win this one, although Sindaku's penalty still keeping Rutanius right now in net P1. By the time we see the finish of this race, I don't think that will be the case. The Italian has a huge advantage in terms of raw performance right now. But penalties could still play a factor. 2 seconds the gap now to Rutanis. I think Sadako have an issue. It was a bit bigger there. He lost 7/10 in that final sector.
Well, one thing here that we need to think about is the fact that these softs are going to be seriously degraded by the end of this race. These drivers are going to have to really nurse these tires around certain corners, make sure they don't slide through into walls and take some damage, because should they take that damage, they are going to fall.
Yeah, if you pick up damage, then it's pretty much game over. You know, Psycho's got that penalty, but 9 seconds. He's got a lack of pace. If let's take Rutenius for an example. If he crashes, loses his front wing, has to come in for a pit, he will be behind Psycho. Whether he can then catch back up to the Alfa Romeo and at least put himself in that 9-second window, that would be, the challenge for any of these drivers to contend with. If Psycho got damage, that would pretty much be the end of his race. But it is Monaco. We've only just a few laps ago transcended past that usual 50% barrier. We still have 28 laps of racing here, Striff. So there is plenty of time for all of these drivers to have an issue, no issues, as there's a Sector 3 issue. Well, we said it, Striff, and it's happened. That is a commentator's curve and a half. Psycho, doing a nice little spin in the final sector. He has a huge portion of that front wing missing now. He's still in this race, though, and I think he's come too far. He has come too far to quit now, and he is going to soldier on. Probably bring that one into the pit lane, as he has a real problem. Grazes the wall through Massenet, but he's still going. He is still in this race.
Just needs to get it through to the end there and get it into the pit lane, get a new wing, get himself situated, and just have a nice, consistent cruise through to the end of this race, and he'll be collecting himself a solid haul of points.
Yeah, points. It's not, a traditional championship in the fact that we do not have a set 20-person grid each a week with reserves. It doesn't tie into a constructors or the combined constructors championship, but we do track the points, whether it not be for it's not, let's say, as glorious. I'm trying to think of, there's a word on the tip of my tongue, Striff, that is really not coming to me right now. Prestigious is the word I'm looking for.
Prestigious.
It's not quite as prestigious as winning, a tiered division where you're there every single week, but still, if you are the championship winner of the endurance series, for whatever series that may be, that is a great achievement. And for Psycho here, picking up a great haul of points here would mean that he may not be able to win that. He's into the pits now, and he's getting the wing change. He has not retired from the session, so a big shout out to him. He knows that this is a good score of points for him. It will just catapult you into those top scoring positions, because even if you come 10th week after week after week, P4, there's a lot of points there. What is that? 12 points, I want to say off the top of my head, for a P4 finish.
Yeah.
So it's the equivalent of coming 10th 12 weeks in a row. So it's a great place to finish for Psycho, and picking up those points would do wonders for him in this championship that is a little bit more unorthodox, but still trackable, and like I said, open to anyone in the Misfits Racing League Discord. So make sure you're in there if you want to join community races like this one, like the F2 that'll be tomorrow. That'll round out our week of Russian races. That'll be me and Mr. Alex Biddo, who has been cheering along in the chat all afternoon. I know he wanted to race here but wasn't able to make it, and I think that meant that we saw Ben the Bear, who didn't have the greatest race, but very, very unfortunate for him. But 4 races left, plenty of laps to go, 25 now on the clock, and Larsen, the closest gap, is falling off of the back of Rutenius, who is falling off the back off of Sindako. Psycho on fresh softs hasn't really had the pace, but we'll see whether the fresh tires can do anything about that. But the 49-second gap and the penalty mean he's probably the one who won't be on the podium, but plenty of time for things to still be changed. Someone else, one of these other 3 drivers, to have an end plate loss, lose a portion of the front wing that they can't go on without.
I want to talk about while we're at this little bit of, this quiet period where these drivers, they're kind of getting these final laps through to the end of this race, and after a very long haul here, I just want to say to everyone in the chat, to everyone viewing along here in the stream tonight, watching along for this Monaco action, thank you so much for hanging with us. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning into the action. It's really nice to see everyone supporting virtual racing, even with only 4 cars left on track with this 5th round. Of course, it's full damage, strict corner cutting, and, well, 78 laps is a very, very long haul. So we've had a variety of retirements, a little bit of drama, stuff like that. And then, of course, I want to take a moment. If you're interested in participating in a free-to-participate tournament, the Misfits Grand Championship is coming up. It's going to be a double elimination bracket-style tournament. And, well, we're going to be having a giveaway to go along with it of an F-GT Lite racing rig. And if you participate in the event, you actually get additional entries into that giveaway as well. So there's a great incentive there to participate in the event. And for any of you looking to jump into a new racing seat, well, we're going to have details on how to win that very, very soon. Exclamation event in the chat.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get that event underway. Elimination style event. I don't think we've ever done anything of that sort, Striff, at least definitely not on this scale. So for, drivers to be able to participate in that, it's going to be very, very fun to watch. And, I just cannot wait seeing what happens. The random tracks, well, they're not random, they're selected, but they won't be known to anyone until moments before the race begins. So unlike here, you can't go in there knowing that you're a specialist at the track. You can't go in with hundreds of hours of practice in the weeks running up to the race. It's all in the moment. Who has got that raw skill, that plethora of track knowledge for all of the tracks in the game, not just 1 or 2. They're not a specialist in one, or, they're not a one-trick pony. And, well, it's been... well, it's going to be a very, very exciting few weeks when that tournament gets underway.
Let's say Rutanius' last endurance race. He came in, had a solid drive. If I'm not mistaken, was it 3rd position he took in that race? Trying to remember off the top of my head, but now he's having another solid performance.
He took a podium.
Yeah, he took a podium because we spoke to him after the race.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it was that. I think you're correct.
Now he's coming back into this endurance series and he's having a good time. No penalties, and it's been the entirety of this race that he's gone with no penalties. I don't even believe he had any shaved off in the pit lane at any point. Just consistency, and if I'm not mistaken, it was consistency that got him the podium last time out in the endurance as well.
Yeah, it was sort of a mad rush to the line in the last few laps, and he wasn't expecting to be there. And I just remember he was super, super excited to be on that podium. He loves the endurance series. It was his first MRL race. I think it was the Canada endurance race that we saw last season's shift, where for the first time ever, we saw a rain get safety card for too much rain. Speaking of Rutanius, a little bit of slide there coming out of Raskas. Nothing too major, but drops him a bit. Larson, yeah, exactly. Bring him back in. But going back to Rutanius, yeah, he loves these endurance races. And to see him up there, Neon coming across correctly, P2 apparently last week. But yeah, it was a lack of penalties. And knowing that track inside and out, Rutanius is one. He says consistency is key. It's sort of his mantra for racing. And you see him, he's leading the Tier 3 championship as well. And you know why, is because he's got a lot of pace in that car, but he also, week after week, he's always there, he always performs, and it may not be race win after race win, but he's always up there in, the top 5 most weeks in. And, Russia this week, what a strategy from him. He had a bad lap 1, came back, huge stint on the medium tires, and finished, I think, 4th. So, a consistent driver, but consistency is also something Larson's had this race, and he's now sort of just reminding Rutanius, if he has a little look in his mirrors, that, hey, I'm still here. This race isn't over for another 21 laps, and, well, you keep making mistakes like that one last time, I'll be here to pick up the pieces. Although, speaking, Larson a bit hot into Raskas, lost a couple of attempts through there, so yeah, a little bit troublesome there.
You can really, in a grid where there's just such a margin of separation keeping you in and around that DRS. You can really see when the interval is that tight where the drivers are gaining time and losing time through the 3 sectors of the circuit. As you can see right now, Larsen pushing a bit up through sector 1. He's trying to keep within that 1 second range of Ruttenius. He wants to break below that 1 second range, get that DRS. We come into the Grand Hotel hairpin, and this is where he starts to lose it. On the exit, Ruttenius pulls out a bit. Then he picks it back up coming through the tunnel. I think he's just got a faster setup, but Ruttenius with a little bit more control through the intricate sections of the circuit where he's pulling all of that time.
Yeah, I'm interested to know. You know, he must have that setup dialed in pretty well. He seems to, earlier in the race, he seemed to be struggling through the final sector. His straight line speed, or his high speed, I should say, because it's not straight line speed here in Monaco, far from it. But you've got the straight down from turn 19 into Saint-Devote turn 1. Straight line through there. Going then up the hill through Beau Rivage into Massenet. He seems to have a lot of pace through that fast-flowing section of track as well, coming out of Portier down through the tunnel. He seems to have that sort of section really down to a T. Seems to be struggling a little bit through Sector 3, but that seems to be Larsen's weakness as well. Larsen doesn't seem to be liking these slow-speed corners. We see him struggle through the Grand Hotel hairpin a couple of times already this evening, and that's where Ruttenius sometimes digs 2/10 a lap out. So very, very strong stuff from Ruttenius, but we've got to talk about Sindaco. He has found life in a race that really, when he got that damage, goodness knows what lap it was now. Probably,
it was early, very early.
I think around lap 18 or 20. I remember there being an 8 in that number, I think. Somewhere around there, he came in for that pit stop, and, well, that safety car came out at a brilliant time for him with Dayton's incident. Gained the position on Ruttenius under that safety car. Ruttenius was doing great defensive driving prior to it. The safety car gifted Sindaco the track position. Larsen was ahead of Ruttenius as well. We saw him sort of let him by through the tunnel, which did not work out for him. I think he wanted to fight it.
Larsen has done a very good job. I don't know if he just ramped it up through the tunnel or if Ruttenius had a bit of an issue, but look at this gap. It's less than half a second. Ruttenius with a minor slide coming out of the final turn. DRS now for Larsen, and this is bad news for Ruta. He didn't have to worry about the Mercedes too much before, but he sure does now.
Well, Ruttenius is lacking on ERS as well, and you saw there through Ascent. Sector 3 doesn't seem to be Ruttenius' favorite. We saw Larsen game. Apparently, according to Neon, who was teammates, I believe they were both being engineered by the same person. Neon probably now on the engineering front. Ruttenius has a lot of tire wear. Larsen might not have that. So if Ruttenius can't go to the end of this race, when do we see him pit? If he pits, like, it's going to be troublesome because for Psycho is apparently a lap down. I'm not sure whether that's actually accurate. He's been on that for a while, but I don't know if that's true or not. It was 49 seconds down, but I don't remember them lapping him. I feel like that would have stood out here. But here we go. Ruttenius is staying out for now. If he does want softs, well, surely you want to get in as quickly as possible and take advantage of them. You know, now there would be 17 laps old, same as this. It'd be halfway. You wouldn't really lose any time. So if he's going to come into the pits, personally, Steph, if I was in Ruttenius' car, I would want to come in this lap.
I think it would be huge if he did. I think that we've talked about it. The undercut can be very, very powerful here. If it's going to be between Ruttenius and Larsen, one of them needs to pull the trigger. I don't think either driver will be going to the end on these tires. Sindaco either. Ruttenius gets in early. He just had another issue. He had a huge issue coming into the tunnel. Look at the run out of Larsen. Does he have a look? That light's on for Ruttenius. Larsen gets on the brakes. Oof. That was tight. That was tight. And thank you so much. Massive shout out to Freeware for the 5 gifted subs. What a night it's been. And thank you so much to everyone for the support, tuning in, hanging in the chat, and to everyone that's come through and gifted the subs tonight. Thank you so much. There he goes. Ruttenius is in, ladies and gentlemen, and there it is. The undercut is on for the McLaren in comparison to the Mercedes. Larsen now. What is his strategy going to be? Is he going to push and come in? Is he going to try and stretch these tires, which I don't think we're thinking is possible, if I'm not mistaken, Unicorn, but Sindako...
I think he can go to the end.
What does
It
Sindako
depends,
do?
though. Well, Sindako, surely he could stay out. We've seen, Sindako, tire management hasn't really been a problem for him in the past, and he hasn't been battling, Lars and Rutenis, they've been pushing one another. They've been, in this sort of... No one's really been exchanging, but around Monaco, exchanging isn't really the problem. Keeping someone behind is. So for Larson now, he has a huge track position. Rutenius, so Psycho was lapped. That pit stop confirms that for us. You can see now he is 17 seconds behind Larson. That means Larson can't pit for free. Rutenius now has forced his hand. If Larson was planning on pitting, he has to do it now. Is he going to do so?
No.
He's not. So I think Larson is going to try and get these tires to the end. I think it's possible. The thing is, Rutenius now should be a lot faster. You can see that, according to the track map, purple sector 2, very much possible it won't be fast this lap because he came out of the pits this lap, of course. But this time now, we're going to see some real pace be unleashed into this grid. Rutenius now, as he comes down onto lap 63 here, down into Sandavot. He is going to be pushing. Let's see what the sector time is when he comes out of sector 1. Pushing up the hill now through Beau Rivage. So it feels like we're back in qualifying, Jeff, as he comes through Massenet into Casino. He's on a fresh set of softs, unless they, of course, were used in qualifying. And it's entirely possible he's 2.5 tenths up through sector 1 alone on his best lap time. Now into the Grand Hotel hairpin. He is gaining big time. He is gaining a huge portion of time, multiple seconds through just sector 1 alone. And this is going to be sending shivers up Larson's spine because we have 15 laps to go, Striv. This is bad news. Not only for Larson, but Sindako as well. Well, Sindako's in. He's reacting.
Yeah, I knew it. These tires, they're just too quick.
Larson's staying out.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake. I think that Larson is going to get eaten alive. Where does Sindako exit here? Gonna get Rutenius, surely. How big is the gap to Larson, though?
Well, it's huge still. About 4 seconds. Yeah, 4.4.
3
somewhere
seconds,
around there.
4 seconds to Rutenius. 3 seconds the penalty. Rutenius charging.
Sindako has a battery advantage, though. And a fuel advantage as well. Rutenius really pushed for that fastest lap, picking up that extra point. Big problem now is Larson. What does he do? He's stayed out too long.
I think this is a mistake from Larson. I think this is a big mistake from Larson. Rutenius, 3.8 fresh softs. I wonder what he's gonna... Sindako's just been driving that racing point so well. Despite that damage he had that we mentioned earlier, he's been doing great, and he's keeping that gap to Rutenius despite the temp that Ruta had in his tires.
Well, here's something, Chef, that would help Rutenius massively. So the undercut for Rutenius, it hasn't worked in terms of getting him ahead of Sindako, but what it has done is force Sindako into the pit lane. That puts him behind Larson. Now, obviously, Rutenius couldn't really have planned for this because surely you expect Larson, like we thought, to pit in response, but he doesn't. This could hold up Sindako. And when he does hold up Sindako, because he's going to fight for track position if he's staying out now, that's going to allow Rutenius to close the door. And what does Rutenius not have that Sindako does? A 3-second time penalty. So this, given that Rutenius is only 1.2 seconds now out of that window, could really bring Rutenius back into contention for the race win. And also, Larson has a penalty too. So he needs to just stay ahead of Sindako. He's, trying to fight the Italian here rather than the Dutchman. So it's interesting to see the strategies at bay here. I think Larson knows that he doesn't quite have the pace of the other two. He's trying to do something different to, try and make something work here. Maybe get a P2.
Oh, Larson, 5.3 seconds, dropping such a rate, this gap, and really the gap between Sindako and Rutenius holding well. Sindako's taken fastest lap at 1:10.391, which I imagine Rutanius won't be thrilled about. As you mentioned, he had that lap previous.
Well, the gap now for Rutanius, sub 10 seconds. It was about 17 when he came out of the pit stop initially. Catching up to Psycho now, the back marker, of course. Rutanius catching a little bit of curbing on the inside of Mirabel there. And sort of sending this guy into a little bit of a slide. Shouldn't cost him too much, but at about a second, and well, in the grand scheme of things, that might not be too bad, but still not helpful, especially if Sindaku can dispatch Larsen quickly, which, to be honest, might not be impossible because there's no back markers, there's no traffic. It is a free track. Sindaku now fastest sector 2, up on his time by about half a second. Can he find fastest lap? I think Rutanius still is the one with it. Fastest lap, no, Sindaku beats it by 2/10. 110.3 is the fastest lap. And Sindaku beats it again. He can't at 110.6. So sector 3 struggling there for him. But there we go. 1.9 seconds now. The gap. Rutanius has dropped off huge to Sindaku now. That gap was about 4 seconds. It's now 7. Rutanius is struggling a little bit right now.
Sindaku really hungry for a win tonight. There he is, Larsen. He is going to be a sitting duck.
The advantage is that it's Monaco. Any other circuit, you would see Sindaku breeze by. But this being Monaco, Larsen has a little bit of more of an opportunity. But given the 20 lap difference in softs, can he hold off? Here will be an excellent opportunity. Out of Raskas into the Anthony Nose corner. What's the exit like on traction? DRS for Sindaku. I don't know if he's got this.
No, it's going to be a big send if he pulls the trigger here, and he doesn't. But he has a very clean run coming up the hill. But is it going to be patience or is it going to be bravery? Oh, it was looking like bravery for a second there, Unicorn, as we come through Casino.
Well, you remember earlier, Striff, Sindaku with the wing damage. He fell victim to Dason swinging around the outside of Massenet in a similar fashion to what he was thinking now. I think he wanted to be like, you know what? I can do that move too. It looks good on the camera. I want to get, you know, some of that airtime, and he knows the cameras are going to be on him.
Dearly. Look at Rutanius. He's been able to break that gap down 2.5.
Well,
Here we go on the inside. Larsen wanting to hold it with everything he's got. We've seen this move a few times. The inside for Larsen. He's still holding as best he can. A little bit of contact, a little bit of a slip, but that is Sindaku into lead of the Monaco Grand Prix on the 4-lap old softs. Now the gap is absolutely breaking down between Larsen and Rutanius, and I think we called it earlier. This wasn't the right call for Larsen here to stay out on these tires because he won't be able to do much about Rutanius.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen Sindaku take Larsen pretty easily. The only advantage here that Larsen might have is by the time that Rutanius catches up to him is that, well, I was going to say it's an ERS thing, but they're both in single digits, so it's going to be tire advantage, and I am on gap to leader. I think that's what has caused me a problem earlier. 8/10 now, the gap between Larsen and Rutanius. So yeah, I think Larsen, this is the end of the road for him in terms of anything higher than P3, unless of course either Sindaku or, well, there he goes. He's not going to make it difficult for Rutanius. He doesn't want to potentially, cause an incident down into the Nouveau chicane. He probably felt it'd be a bit touch and go though with Sindaku on the tires. Wanted to defend the move, realized how little traction he's got, so wants to just hold now behind Rutanius, bring home the car, bring home the podium, and, well, it's pretty much guaranteed at this point. Psycho a lap down in 4th place. On
He'll be
to
happy to come
lap
home
70 then.
in 4th position regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. It would, anyone in an endurance race around Monaco, if you were like, you know what, 4th place, Fourth place around Monaco. Brilliant place to finish. You know, even if you narrowly missed out on a podium. But Psycho, he's a lap down, but he is guaranteed that fourth position. Whatever, and he's done a great job to keep himself going here.
Gaps now. It's really now at that calm point. We have a pretty good idea of where things are landing, and it's just been an amazing race. And again, of course, everyone in the chat, everyone in the stream, thank you so much for tuning into this. And Doc, oh, Larsen, he's caught the inside. You were mentioning earlier how we have not seen a lot of drivers do this. Wing damage on the front right. He just hooked himself on that inside left coming into the chicane.
Well, Striff, this is giving me flashbacks to Tier 3 Monaco, where I did just that to lose out on a podium. And that was in the closing stages of the race. I don't think it's going to cost Larsen the podium here as he slips. He catches the rear on entry to the pit lane as well. But he's getting onto mediums. I think he's out of softs. Psycho, he's not going to be able to get Larsen here. But that does take Larsen out of contention. Rutanius, if Sindaku picks up another penalty, may be a possibility of a win here. Maybe. That is what he needs. But... well, Larsen down into P3, medium tires. He won't even be able to push. It's 11 lap old mediums as well. He is out of tires. So for these drivers now, it's just a case. Larsen's just have it there. He will now be thinking, I'm on my own. I need to get this car to the end. That is all he needs to do now. He doesn't need to battle anyone. He just needs to bring it home. And that, I think, you know, we've been in this race for a long time now. 2 hours, over 2 hours since we started the stream. So, you know, these drivers, this is a lot of concentration required. And I think that would have been a wake-up call for Larsen. You know, crashing the car, be like, all right, I'm still in the race, but I do need to do another 6 laps to get this P3. So, we'll see what he does. But I imagine just calm and collected to the last few laps and just bringing it to the checkered flag.
Lap 72 out of 78. 20 drivers began this race. We're down to 4. What a dynamic campaign it was here around the night-lit sky of Monaco.
Larsen's into the pits again. He's cycling onto... he's got wing damage again. I was saying he just needs to get that car to the end. Larsen, if you're listening, you really do just need to get that car to the end, because there is still Psycho who could still take the podium. I think he's sort of taking that podium for granted, maybe pushed a bit too hard, and now risks getting lapped here by Sindaku. It may not be the on-track overtakes we were looking for, but we might see one here with Larsen forced to pull over here with the blue flags.
He's definitely going to catch up with Larsen, I think.
Oh, for sure. And blue flags will be waved, and he'll have to let him through. This is tiredness. This is the endurance race taking its toll now. You know, we were saying earlier that the people, you know, retired early in this race struggled with it. They didn't actually get most of them to the endurance part of this race. That was just normal 50%. Larsen has been here for 73 laps, so you can understand why this race is taking its toll on him.
Well, these guys have been driving for over an hour and a half.
Around Monaco.
Yeah, it's a high demand circuit, tight circuit, a circuit that demands 100% concentration 100% of the time. And these guys, these 4 drivers, I mean, everyone's had their mishaps, everyone's had their little mistakes and hiccups, but these 4 drivers were the ones that managed to come through 74 laps now as Sindaku crosses the line.
Yeah, and well, Larsen, the tire advantage holding him up, holding him ahead actually. So he won't drop here, and Larsen, Sindaku as well. He's picked up almost a 6-second gap. So even if he picked up another penalty to Rutanius for himself, another 3 seconds to put his total to 6, Rutanius, he'd still be in it just now, but by the end of this, the next 4 laps, I think Rutanius would be outside of that 6-second window.
Five stops for Larsen, 5 stops for Psycho, 3 for Sindako and Ruda here.
Well, we always knew that strategy was going to come on top. I don't think we were expecting a 5-stopper on the podium, but that will be the case as Larsen takes fastest lap of the race. So another point goes to him, and Rutanius and Sindako, they don't really have the opportunity to take that unless Rutanius has a fresh set of softs that he feels like getting onto to pushing for on the last couple of laps, because he could. You know, now it doesn't look too hopeful that he'll get the win. It's still on for him if maybe Sindako has an incident. Let's say he bounces off the wall at the Nouvelle Chicane, picks up 3 seconds and an end plate loss. Rutanius could still win. It's unlikely because Sindako has been so composed, but maybe.
Sindako, what a charge. Ladies and gentlemen, who is your driver of the day? Out of these 4 remaining racers, who is your pick for driver of the day? Let's see some suggestions in the chat. Out of these 4 racers, we can get a poll going.
I see a lot of psychos. In there. I saw Alex Budd say this a couple of minutes ago, that he had Psycho as driver of the day just for hanging in there and not retiring and in the pit lane. And well, it's paid off for him. We've mentioned it a couple of times already, but it really has. So I think that's a fair. Oh, I think there is a reason to give every single one of these drivers driver of the day, Striff. I really do. So, you know. Yeah, it's been. So these 4 racers, a huge round of applause when they cross the line, because it has been brilliant from them to conquer the track like no one else could in this race. They have kept themselves in it for 76 laps. They have got 2 more to go. So for them to still be in it, it is very, very impressive. And they'll, you know, be very proud of themselves. Or at least they should be. They should be proud of themselves for getting to in this one. I don't want to speak too early, but now I think they will be counted even if they did retire. Let's hope that they don't. Fingers crossed that they do make it to the end of this race. But they would still be counted, I think, if they go to this point. Sindako crosses onto the penultimate lap of the race. We do have a driver of the day poll up there.
Rutanius is going to go for the fastest lap. Is it a fresh set or is it? Yeah, it is. So it's a full fresh set here.
Unless he used it in qualifying.
Could be scrubbed.
But here he goes. Well, he's giving us some last lap action. Larsen's. Well, maybe
I was just on board with him. I was just on board with him.
Psycho should get him here. I think. He should be able to get past, provided, yeah, Sindako won't cross the line. So, yes, Psycho should, unless he crashes in the next half a lap, which, again, please, Psycho, please do not. I don't want another commentator's curse to my name. But there might be another podium sitter. And let's see, Rutanius, he's the one going for fastest lap now. Fastest lap, well, it's a 109.5 for Larsen. Rutanius' best this race was a 110.5, and that was on fresh softs too. But the track is as rubbered in as you're ever gonna make. So here we go, through into to back. Where is the timing line? There it is. Down 2.5 seconds, so I don't think he's got it unless he can push on the last lap. Sindako is on that last lap. Psycho here, well, Larsen crashed just here, so is he going to get the place on the time attack? He is, so Psycho will finish on the podium. That is absolutely crazy.
This race has been crazy start to finish, Unicorn. What a campaign 3 racers out of 20 will finish. Larson will get classified, I think.
I think so too.
25.6 seconds ahead of Rutanius. Rutanius with the extra stop in comparison to the race leader. Psycho, a lap down, will collect 3rd.
Well, it has been a very, very interesting and, Schiff, you like the word unique. And that perfectly sums up this race, that's for sure. Sindaco wins the 100% Misfits Racing League endurance race around Monaco. The fireworks are firing. And you got to say, there's been a few fireworks already this evening around the track. Rutanius coming through Raskas. He's got damage on that front wing just moments after coming into the pit stop. But
Unicorn?
And Psycho, he will finish 3rd after what has been an absolutely crazy race for this man right here. He's weaving. He knows he's the only man left out on track. And, well, he started 7th on this grid. He will finish on the podium. The Alfa Romeo coming through Sector 3 for the final time tonight. He's got a lot of penalties, but most importantly, he's got a lot of laps under his belt. So Psycho finishes P3. And Schiff, that rounds out the MRL endurance race around Monaco. What a race that was. Psycho was voted driver of the day by 93%. A lot of points scored there. Driver of the day in games goes to Sindaco, who I think started from 14th on the grid to take that win. But what a race, Schiff. I think it's been an interesting evening here in the commentary booth, watching what was 20 drivers, what is now just these 3.
Man, I think I could write a book about this race. Just a full-blown novel.
I think we could.
You know?
we could get quite the biography of this race going.
The race of Monaco, where only 3 stood at the end. Wow, what a campaign. Sindaco, Rutanius, Psycho. After 78 laps of Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix Round 5 of the Endurance Series, only 3 drivers finishing in classification officially. Larson there, he had that retirement. He will get classified, but he did retire before the finish of the race. And well, we had a very, as I say always, dynamic, unique race. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're going to have interviews in just a moment, of course, and then a raid. We greatly appreciate you all hanging out and joining us for MRL action. If you're new to the stream, well, we do these Endurance Series races every Formula 1 Grand Prix weekend following the calendar. So, of course, this weekend we follow Monaco. Next week, we are going to be in, of course, Suzuka for the 18th round of the Misfits Racing League official action. Oh, I'm excited for Suzuka as well. Tomorrow, on the YouTube channel, !YouTube, you can find the APAC, the Asian Pacific Division, take to the Sochi Autodrome, as well as the Formula 2 division. Oh, we're going to get some interviews, and I wonder what these drivers are going to say after that one. All right, here we go. Welcoming for an interview for, I believe it's the first time, Psycho, a 3rd position finish. One of 20 drivers that began the campaign around the streets of Monte Carlo. How are you feeling?
I feel like I need a drink. Oh my god. This race was enduring, but oh, I'll never forget it. So much stuff happened in like long span of time, and I'm just so happy I get to finish it. Get to put a pat on my back.
Well, it was a very, very long haul. How did it feel for you nearing the end of this race? It was, you had 4th position. It looked like it might have been all you were going to get, and then there was a retirement for Larson. Why don't you talk us through how you were feeling during that?
Right, so I first started pitting a lot because I was getting damaged, and I was like, okay, maybe I might go for fast lap. Then I pit again, like in the last 4 laps, just so why not get the fastest lap, maybe get a point. And then in the middle of my hot lap, I just see Larson retired in bottom of my screen. And then just boom, instant lean mode, just save the car, try to bring it home. And I'm just like scrolling through, happy as ever, just swerving, just enjoying my time. And I'm like, damn, all this time, because I was like a lap down because I just wanted to stick around, see if anybody was going to retire. And I know I was P4, and if anything happened, you know, I would just join in. So, yeah, happy it all worked out. So,
Well,
happy.
congratulations, Psycho, and we'll hope to see you in the commentary booth for another endurance race soon. Maybe
so.
not an endurance race as eventful as that one was, with maybe some of the retirements, but of course we we love to see these endurance races, and thank you so much for participating, Psycho.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
That was Psycho, ladies and gentlemen. What a long haul for him, and he managed to take a P3. Big shout out to Matt. Thank you so much for the gifted tier 1 sub to Unorthodox. Congratulations, Unorthodox. We are now going to hear from, well, I think it's twice in a row for the endurance series for this man right here, Unicorn. It is the Dutchman, normally flying the Racing Point banner. Today, well, you got it done in a different car, the McLaren. Rutanius, congratulations. How you feeling?
I am so dead. I'm so tired. Like, that was quite the endurance. 78 laps of Monaco, full focus, full send. Yeah, my body is just at its limit right now. It's so tough to stay focused for 78 laps long. Intense battle, trying to keep up with Sendaku. It was tough, but yeah, crazy.
How did it feel driving through the race? There was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of, well, let's say debris on track. The first lap was crazy. We saw multiple VSCs. We saw multiple safety cars. How was it just trying to manage through all of those situations?
Yeah, so at lap 1, I didn't really notice much of the carnage that may have happened behind me, because I started first and I just led from lap 1, turn 1. I did see some front wings on the track laying around sometimes, which would catch you off guard sometimes, because your instinct reaction is just to dodge it, but so it brings you out of your flow. The multiple VSCs, you could either love them or hate them when you're driving. You could see it as a break, but I see it as I'm in my flow, and the moment when the VSC comes, I'm out of my flow again, and I need to get into that flow again, because it's Monaco, and you need to be in that flow specifically to have like the good pace. Yeah, was also just tough scenario calls with the full safety cars. We were doubting to go to softs till the end because I had 18% right front wing damage. Eventually, it was the right call to stay out. And then just so much happened behind me, where I was just chopping away laps. Just looking forward, seeing what I could do. And this is where I ended up.
Well, congratulations. It was a very, very long haul for you. You managed to take a very good lap in qualifying, beating out your previous qualifying of Tier 3 by, I believe, 4/10. So congratulations on that. You've obviously shown amazing improvement since the previous Monaco campaign, and we hope to see you do well in the next endurance race, Rutanius. Congratulations again.
Thanks so much. And also big thank you to Alex Budd for engineering me today, sitting out that long session. And big congrats to Sendaku. He really showed off what quality we have in the Racing Point team.
Yeah, I definitely did. Thank you so much, Rutanius, and until next time.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least now, we have Sindaco joining us, and what a long haul it was for the Italian in the Racing Point. I'm going to hand it off to Unicorn, but not before I say, Sindaco, congratulations. What a performance here. 78 laps, taking the win around Monaco. Unicorn, all to you, sir.
Well, Sindaku, that one is a race I don't think anyone who watched is going to forget for a while. I don't think it's one Striff and I are going to forget for a while. But for you to come from 14th, to have damage in the early stages, to an extra pit stop without the safety car, to come through out of all of that to win the race, you have got to be feeling, one, exhausted, and two, absolutely ecstatic.
He's just giving us a heads up that his microphone has unfortunately died, and he said to give Sindaku a quick moment. So we'll give him a moment. Of course, we can afford the race winner a moment to get himself situated after 78 laps of Monaco.
Yeah, I think, it's not just him, it's his equipment now is feeling the toll of 78 laps of the streets of Monte Carlo, and you can understand that it's been quite a battle, on track and evidently off track as well. So, we'll just wait a couple of moments here to try and get an interview with, of course, a race winner with a superlative drive. And it's been absolutely incredible. Like I said, 14th to 1st. And we'll see whether he can get that fixed quickly. There we go.
Just seeing if we can get Sindaku and his microphone working here. Sindaku, can you hear us? Alright. He's having some microphone problems, so I think we're gonna move ahead on that now.
Well, it's certainly a shame to not hear from the race winner after that one. But, my goodness, I think, Sindaku, like I said, 14th to 1st. To come back from that damage, we saw the extent of the damage that he had in that race. Dayson overtaking him around the outside, and Massenet really hammered home what he was feeling there, but he stayed in it, he stuck with it, and he came home to win. And 13 places gained, picks up the in-game Driver of the Day award, and you can see why. But it's unfortunate that we don't get an interview with him due to problems there with his, microphone, and we can all understand technical difficulties. We had a couple people retire as a result of technical difficulties in that race as well. And after 78 laps of Monaco, you can understand why. It's a long time for something to go wrong.
Definitely. But that is, of course, going to wrap up our Endurance Series Round 5 coverage of the Monaco Grand Prix Sindaku. Rutania Psycho, your podium finishers here for this one. What a campaign. Massive shout out to everybody who tuned into the stream and hung out in the chat for a very, very solid race. And of course, big shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out on their website, the link in the chat and via the panels down below, and they'll be helping us out with our great championship. The Grand Championship of the Misfits is coming, and you can get yourself participating and signed up for that and give yourself a bit of an extra leg up in the giveaway that will be coming along with it. And we have some cash prizes for the winners of that event as well. So all the information can be found on our website, misfitsrl.com, or !event in the chat. And well, I do believe that's it from me. We have a little bit more racing action to come tomorrow, but of course, Unicorn, I'll let you tell our viewers all about that.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, 12:30 here in the UK, 1:30 in Europe for the APAC division. Seb, my usual commentating or co-commentator, is not around, so a little bit of a retro commentary to myself and Cool Manic will be helming that one around Russia. Of course, the last 50% F1 race for the week. And then to round out the usual Misfits Racing League action, we will, of course, have another community event just like this one, which is open to anyone in the Discord. Of course, the F2 with me and Alex Bitto. But until then, thank you all so much for sticking with us through a huge long campaign that is 100% Monaco. But until tomorrow, take care. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.